it's up to a level where we can be proud of, then this city's going to take off. I've said it, and I'll say it again. But only speaking as a representative, I think we need to rescind it, go back, let the mayor put together a task force of stakeholders, meaning property owners, citizens, planning board members, whoever, and go through and let's just look at existing resources. You got a plan already. There's a duck call. You've got a plan already, and you've got the ability to add to that plan. Is that my time to say stop talking? Is that your buzzer to me?
I wasn't gonna say it.
That's my time to stop talking. Touche, Jody, touche. Okay, re-engage stakeholders. Sorry, re-engage stakeholders. I just think, in my opinion, it was no intent to where it's gonna cause anybody headache, but unintentionally we've done that, because when people look at it first blush, you're saying, well, they're stopping development, and that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to do that. That's not the intent. I just think that I agree with Councilman Roberts, Councilman Hogg. I do think that we need to look at a plan of action and really put some hard timetables to it with data, bringing back some conversations with whatever stakeholder that is. I think we do need to rescind it, only because you need to start with flexibility. You need to be able to be flexible if the mayor says, hey, we've got a consultant, or that way we can discuss it under flexible terms. That way you're not bound by a moratorium. And I just think that we need to be more flexible with it. There's an opportunity without having to stop the momentum, because again, we've had some really, really good positive results in the last year and a half on this council and mayor's office. And right now we can get what we want without putting a moratorium on. After having time to think about it, that's my take on it. We can put a plan together, a plan of action. You can put hard timetables on it. I don't think it's inappropriate to say that. I would reach out to every single person who could help in that respect, even our state legislature, our delegation. I mean, there's some opportunities there. Citizens, again, planning board. It'd be good to get them involved, because if we're talking about zoning patchwork issues, they may have seen something in the course of a year or two dealing with developers coming back and forth, something in the code. I think that way staff will at least have some basis of some framework to go off of as well. So again, I appreciate everybody's listening, but my recommendation would be to rescind it, start just flexible, allow the mayor to get whoever she needs on this task force, go forward meeting with stakeholders and really pressing the issue of what we're trying to do. So that will be my take and my discussion point. So I don't know if anybody else had any further discussion, any ideas?
I'd like to hear more from the mayor after she's heard citizens talk, and also councilman's thoughts and ideas, and just see where she stands.
Well, I appreciate it, and my thoughts are pretty much on the same track with all of you. And I have not seen the 08 plan. I do know there was another plan prior to that in 98.
Yep.
And it was really excellent at the time, and they were ready to start shoveling dirt. And typical Northport, leadership changed, and they didn't like the plan because it was our plan. So that got shelved. So, and you're right, as times go, plans go too. And I would like to see the 08, and as I said, the group in Birmingham, they're not interested in coming in here and doing another plan. They're wanting to come in here and take what we have already, look at it and see what still can fit, and then start addressing some of the issues that we have down there that would give us the proper development. As I said, the way the zoning is at this point, I would hate for Mr. AG, somebody to come down there and build something next to your property that would devalue your property and would devalue the whole area. The zoning has got to be addressed before we move forward with it. It's just patchwork. The school system is a huge stakeholder down there, and we're in the process of trying to talk with them about some options of other things which work very favorably in our way. So, as I say, whether the moratorium stays or it doesn't stay, that's certainly up to y'all. I don't have a vote in this fight, but that's up to y'all. My intentions were to make sure that what happens down there happens for the right reason, as Mr. Hogg has said. I don't want 5 years down the road and say, oh, geez, what did we let happen? And that could very
Yeah.
easily happen the way this zoning is down there at this point. That's it. I'm willing to do what we need to do, but we need to be very careful about how we allow things down there.
Birmingham group be available to come?
I'm sure they will. I just need to
Oh.
talk with them and get a schedule for them. The one who is, I guess, president of that company I've talked with several times, and he's been down there and just on his own, as a matter of fact, without my knowing it, had walked that area and driven that area, and he fell in love with it. He said, y'all don't realize what you have here. So he has a real interest in that. I'll try to set up a time when they can come.
Let me throw this at you, Mayor, with your office, respect to what we're trying to do. The Birmingham group, if they do want to come down, I agree. I think they may want to engage with everybody, maybe engage with staff and planning board or whatever. I just think, again, I'm going back to it, to give you, and if we decide to do this, you got to have flexibility, in my opinion, because when you got a moratorium hanging over you, it just, stakeholders are not going to be as apt to work and help. I mean, that's just, I could be wrong. Maybe they may not be as amenable to say, hey, yeah, I may want to work with the city to do something to free up land or whatnot. I just think a moratorium we can get to where we want to go, I think, without it. And I think just being careful is without question, that's going to be the first thing. I just think establishing objective goals, hard timelines, bringing that group in, letting us engage with them, seeing what they think. You've got some resources available. You've got a couple plans. No, you got 12 plans. I don't know how many we got, but I do know 08 was very good. The one that you mentioned, late 90s, was very good as well. I think they got a copy somewhere in this building. So I just think there's some elements that we can pull from that we could utilize it. So I just think to free you up to have flexibility, I think we don't need to have the fear that something crazy will happen, because I just don't think it will. I just don't think it will. But we do need to give you the flexibility to come and engage all these stakeholders and do it how you want to do it, and then council comes in and gives some direction a little bit and maybe supports it. But again, I'm still talking the same thing. I think we ought to just rescind it, start fresh, get the flexibility behind you, and then put together your team how you want it, and then come back and let's try to work on it.
President Logan, if you were to do that, though, you would definitely need to do that, and then also follow that up with something that says, this is the hard timeline, this is what we are going to do, and when we leave here, I don't want it to be, that was the way that we decided to go. This is something that just waits till the next council meeting. It needs to start immediately, because obviously the mayor has a vision. We need to go ahead and start working on that immediately.
Yeah, I agree. That's where the timelines are critical, and we can establish those right now. I mean, if you leave the meeting today and you put the clock on, you can say, hey, within 90 days, mayor's going to engage A, B, C, and D. Come back and with her task force and give us some updates and conversations and data. And then we establish, the next phase. And what's the objective? What's the goal of that? So, no, I agree 100%. If we're going to do it, I think we need to put the timeline on it and keep the ball rolling, because, again, the worst thing we could do is open in this thing and then we just come back and before you know it, you got another plan, not enacted, hadn't been executed. So I think the end goal is to execute what we have or an elements of that. You said you want to speak. All right. I'm going to allow you to speak. Yes, sir. Now, you going to hold this up? Okay, all right, okay.
3 minutes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Chuck Gerdeau, 3909 Northwood Lake Drive West, Northport. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And I didn't really want to say anything, but I just, I got a couple things I wanted to say. First is, I want to thank the mayor for putting this out there. Whether there's a moratorium or whether it's rescinded, you have created a conversation, okay? And so, personally, I appreciate it, because, the southeast part of our city, you know, it needs development, needs work. Anybody will tell you that. The second thing is on the 2007-2008 plan, I was on the steering committee for that plan.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a copy at the house.
Can you
Anybody-
bring, of
anybody
all the
wants a
stuff,
copy,
of
I will
all the
bring it
stuff
to
you
you.
bring up here, you should have had that in your car. No, I'm
well,
joking.
I gave a copy to Robbie when he was running,
Mm-hmm.
and you know he really liked it. It was citizen driven. I mean, you remember you weren't you on the council at the
I
time?
was on I was on a subcommittee on that.
Right.
I was on like a small little subcommittee.
And
Chuck,
you-
I've never seen it, so I'd love to see a copy.
I will print you a copy and bring it to your office
Thank you.
because it.
Can you print just
I'll print Dr. Hinton a copy. I'll print Bruce a copy. Councilman Roberts.
I'm
I'll
sure
print
we've
you
got a copy here. I just want
I'll save you paper. I'll print you a copy.
all right.
That being said, people like me who are just citizens put a lot of time into that plan, and in my mind, it doesn't need to be dusted off. The plan itself is a conceptual plan. You have a two-part
Mm-hmm.
to it. The first part is that this is how you would like it to look, the whole development of it. It may not ever come out that way, but you know, here's a good idea. Okay, if you remember correctly, that this plan also had a $8 million pedestrian bridge across the river.
Like I said, some elements of it I like. Some of them elements I said, hey,
That's a little aggressive.
that's a
It's not-
Herculean effort.
okay.
That's why I said some elements I like. Some elements were it's Herculean. Some of the stuff that was in there, but again, this is what was conceptually as framework.
Exactly. Then the other part was the ordinances.
Mm-hmm.
They're in place. They're still in place. Some have been variances here and there. You remember there was a possibility of a hotel several years ago. There was, I think it was going to be an 8-story. Ended up being 5 or 6. You know, there were some variances taken in that. So the plan does not need to be dusted off. I've got it sitting at the house, and I would.
Well, dust it off meaning nobody has seen it other than.
I couldn't tell you why that is. I could not tell you why it is, but it's time. If it needs to be dusted off, I say we take it off. I'll give everybody a copy, and anybody else, I'll put it on Facebook as a PDF.
Well, I don't want people thinking that's. We need to use that as a guide framework or even just reference because again, Councilman Roberts and Dr. Hinton, I think the mayor. I think we just need to kind of look at it, see what elements are in there, and then we start engaging the mayor and her task force. I guess if council decides to do that, to use that maybe as reference points.
Right. So you have the '98 plan. I remember that. Okay. Who knows where it? You know, it's somewhere in a file. That needs to be brought out, and the 2008 plan. And you know, I ran on this several years ago that we need a comprehensive Northport City plan. We
do. We also need $375,000 to do that. We do.
Well,
They're expensive.
Okay. I think you can find that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
I mean, comp plans are needed. It's a roadmap.
If you're going to raise your sales tax by a penny, I can guarantee there's going to be $375,000 in there.
Are you saying you want to support raising that?
I didn't say that. I said if you do.
Okay, I'm just asking, Scott.
Man, don't put
And
me on the
I got
spot.
I got Jody saying
You're
he.
trying to get Ron Davis over here trying to put me on
No,
the spot.
I'm sorry, Chuck. I'm sorry, brother Chuck. Go ahead.
I see him laughing.
The comp plan is very important. I agree. It is an
Right.
important tool, but
now
it's expensive.
But that's something that if you have these plans that put it all together, let's have a south. You know, if you need one for the southeast corner as well. So.
Chuck, what I'm going to say is that probably the best thing that you said, regardless of where the plans are, and I'm glad you brought it up, is that we're actually having a conversation, okay?
That's right. Yes.
Part of the problem why none of the plans ever get executed is because the conversation gets passed on a piece of paper and then it gets filed away. That's the way things go.
Right.
So I think, you know, we whatever plan we do, whether we spend more money, whether we don't, for me, the biggest thing is that it did stir a conversation. You know, on reflection, would it have gotten the same momentum not passing a moratorium? I don't know, right? because can't affect in the future. I don't have a DeLorean. I can't go backwards. All I can do is address what's in front of us. And so we're having the conversation.
That's right.
And I think that based on having the conversation and developing a plan, we have got to challenge ourselves to do things differently as a government entity. You put down a hard stop, you put the stakeholders together, and you move forward. And if you can't do that, then we know what's going to happen. There's going to be a new group of people here, and we're going to have the same conversation in 3 to 4 years again. Right. And Jay is going to tell me that he's been driving across the bridge now for 40 years, and it looks the same way as it did 40 years ago. Because I think today you said 30 years, right?
I know. I said I've been living here for 40 years, but I remember it's probably a pause button on that, and that's good, bad, or indifferent. It is what it is. I just think now's the time. If we're going to do it, we really need to look at that southeast community and say, once we do this and do it the right way, it is going to put your city at another level, because that is the first thing you see coming across the bridge. That is your first impression. It's only a snapshot.
That's your gateway.
Before you get to our nice homes way up the road, that is the first thing you see, and I think it's important. Seriously, Councilman Robinson, I agree with you. Yeah, you drive across the bridge, everybody looks right. Retail's on your right. There it is. So, throwing that out there.
Right. So I would hope that everybody that's spoken today in the audience will engage with the city and make this happen.
Yeah, I think the impression we got was from, hey, you've got some existing resources to pull from. It really comes down to executing what you have. If you need to add to it, the 08 plan had some good framework models inside of it. You can pull from that. The 98 plan, I hadn't seen it, but I'm sure if it's really good, you could use some of those elements. But
how do we get a copy of the 98?
You got a copy.
I don't have the 98.
I had one many years ago, but I'm not sure where it is now. It's been too long.
Okay.
But it did not include a bridge across the river.
Right.
So,
Well,
Strictly,
I like being aggressive, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But aggressiveness is good sometimes.
I think that the theme that I got from everybody's comments is, I think they want the stakeholders to be engaged. They really do. I think.
Ron, you know where the copy is of the 98?
I don't. I think
Okay. Do I need to come fill out a form for that? Do you
08 is
have a
online.
copy? Okay. It's all.
the 08's incorporated in the zoning ordinance.
Uh-huh.
Correct. Yeah. 'Cause
Uh-huh.
It's all, like zoning is for that, it's kind of in place.
Yeah, we're currently utilizing
it's
Yeah.
11
08.
years, right.
I have an idea about how to get the money for the bridge.
Well, let's do this.
Whoa.
Let's do this after the meeting. You give me that idea.
I want to get the money.
You want to give it now? All right, let's do this then, Mr. Swap. We'll let Brother Chuck continue his conversation if he's completed.
I want to hear about the bridge. I like aggressives.
Okay.
I'd like to hear about the bridge.
Come on up, Mr. Swap.
Okay.
First of all, is it legal?
Yes, it would be
Okay.
legal. The person, I would say, who has done more since I've been here in the Tuscaloosa Northport area to have a great impact on this urban area is Nick Saban. Certainly, the increase in the enrollment at the University of Alabama, more than doubling the enrollment that was there when I came in 2000. Who do you attribute it to? The person who brings more money into this city when we have home games is Nick Saban. If you were to create a pedestrian and bicycle bridge, you don't have a safe pedestrian walkway between Northport and Tuscaloosa. You have a little area that you can go over on Lurleen Wallace, and I've walked that many times, and I know I take my life in my hands every time I do it. So, because a truck could crash through that barricade. So you name a bridge for Nick Saban and perhaps his wife, and you reach out to people who are playing in the NFL and wondering what to do with their some of their money that they're going to lose to taxes. Name it for Nick and his wife, and you'll get the money.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Swab. Thank you. Very aggressive plan.
I'd rather they put their money in that area down there and
Yeah.
help develop it, rather than a bridge right now.
create an iconic bridge like I mean, you have them all over this country that link St. Paul and Minneapolis. You have one in Nashville. You know, if you build a great bridge, and you could probably get federal funds for it as well, I'm thinking, I think you probably could. You know, it might attract people like the Sarragan Arch in St. Louis. Maybe not. I've been in that archway. But, you know, I mean, I think it's worth considering.
Thank you. Mr.
President,
Yes, sir.
we're gonna engage stakeholders and start this process soon. Seems to me one of the best things to do would be to bring in the Birmingham group with their expertise and everything to kind of give us ideas and start the discussion in a healthy way.
Yes, sir. All right, with that being said, thank you, Councilman Hinton. With that being said, again, everybody's putting their discussions on it and their perspectives and viewpoints. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of having flexibility while you're in the process, meaning bringing in that Birmingham group, bringing in your citizens, your stakeholders, looking at plans that we've done, that we should have enacted, that we need to use as reference points. I just think having that flexibility without a moratorium at least gives you can create that roadmap using the resources that you have. And then if it gets to a point where you say, wait a minute, we may have to do something different, where you go back to council and say, we may need to look at doing something to slow this thing down. But right now, you've got the resources. I think if the Birmingham group can be engaged, I would put them on the stakeholder list. Well, I just think having the flexibility, Mayor, gives you the opportunity and gives the council the opportunity to engage everybody freely. Everybody can kind of be amenable to working with the city, because it's going to take some conversations with property owners and stakeholders and citizens and things of that nature. So any further discussions? Or all right, again, I'm going to throw this out, and again, if it pleases mayor and council, I understand the intent our mayor wants to do. I think it's a great way to start the conversation, like everybody has said, because I'm finally kind of seeing everybody sees the value of that southeastern community, not just from development, but just from community enhancement and where our city needs to, what we need to look like. I think the residents, it's far past time. I think we all should tip our hat if we can get this thing done. But if it pleases mayor and council, again, my recommendation would be to rescind our current ordinance that was placed on the 15th and allow the mayor to create a task force to re-engage or establish stakeholders and engage those stakeholders, and to establish hard timelines to get back with council on issues of maybe there's a planning issue, maybe there is something that we need to set up some objectives with planning board. So I think establishing a task force, mayor, giving yourself hard timelines where we come back and say, in 90 days, this needs to get done so we can move on to the next phase of it. I think if we can get the ball rolling quicker with the resources that we have, I think we can really put a plan together and create those and close those holes in. I think everybody has said that we've got in some of our zoning. So I would, and this is in the form of a motion. Again, I just feel that if we're going to do it, let's just rescind the existing ordinance that was placed on East of Lurleen Wallace Boulevard, south of M.L. King Boulevard, that was voted on the 15th, and allow the mayor's office to create and establish a task force and establish her criteria, establish some objectives and goals, and re-engage stakeholders, property owners, citizens, looking at resources such as existing plans, 08 specifically, 98 specifically, bringing in that Birmingham group you mentioned, Mayor, let them come and engage this whole stakeholders group. And then reporting back, and then we can develop again, and again, it's open. This is 90 days to get the data. You can go another 90 days to actually have that Birmingham group utilize some of the elements of the plan so we can move forward if the council so chooses. I'm sure there are some things that we have to do if the council decides to utilize that group as a consultant. That still need to be voted on, I think. Was that right, Ron? So it's important to at least get them in here early to see what they can do and what they bring to the table for us, and listen to that conversation. So again, my recommendation or motion would be to rescind the existing ordinance, allow the mayor's office to create her task force to look at that southeast community, bring in her existing stakeholders, potential stakeholders, to re-engage them and create timelines that she can make and establish with council's direction and help. So that would be my motion.
Before we vote, Mayor, before I vote, I want to know what your thoughts are on going this way. Is that a good compromise? Is it not?
There's not a compromise. I mean, we need to do what's right, bottom line.
I agree, and that's what I want to know is.
But I would
Where
say
you stand.
this, I'm all for having